運が悪かったんだよ、お前らは。
Okay. We're coming, Date. We're gonna save you from the homeless men who could easily just be told to go away by Kage, the florist. For some reason, he doesn't feel like helping. Gotta make this unnecessarily complicated.
伊達さん、
すまねえ、はるかが。
分かってる。
おい、こいつデカだぞ。
そうだ、間違いねえ。俺はな、昔こいつにパクられたんだ。
もう十分だろ。
まだだ。
100回殺しても足らねえ。
電車は引っかんでる。
一発殴んねえと気が済まねえ。
バラしまえ。
そうだ、バラしまった方がいい。
何言っても無駄か。
ああ、無駄だ。あんたの話聞く義理はねえ。なんだよ、どうする気だ。
よせ、桐生。
そんなにこの人やりてえなら俺を倒してからにしろ。
Man, beating up homeless people's the worst. Because they smell really bad. I think it would have been funnier if it said, like, homeless men. I like how during this with Date, they're like, yeah, break out the wooden swords, break out the sticks, right? But when Kiryu, when Kiryu came into the bathroom, they all had guns. Yeah, fuck the guns. Let's just break out the wooden swords and beat the ever-loving shit out of this co-op. And they moved Date's character model. They moved Date's character model to behind this barrier. I mean, you beat up Gary Busta Holmes, but then you beat up these crowd of homeless men, and somehow that's even more impressive to me.
この情報量はつけにしといてやる。
あいつは元警官だ。警察の情報を横流ししてたのを俺が告発したんだ。その後は知らねえが、こんなとこで会うとはな。桐生、はるかさらったのは真島組のやつらだ。
真島組?
Oh, time to have a flashback to that guy we haven't seen since the first scene of the game. Time to have a flashback to the... this flashback doesn't really work, considering this remake, you guys. Because in the original game, we haven't seen Majima since that original scene at the beginning with the umbrella. But in the remake, there's been a shitload of fucking new Majima content added in, and it doesn't work. That's why I don't like the Majima Everywhere system, or at least not how it's implemented. Because they don't change anything about the script or the scenes from the original game to accommodate for the Majima Everywhere content. So it makes this, like, jarring, unexplained, like, whiplash. Again, imagine it's someone who is playing Yakuza for the first time, and they start with this game, which is my recommendation. And they're going, and they don't know. So, like, they're just being exposed to the Majima Everywhere content, and they're like, okay, And then you get to this part where in the PS2 game, this is where Majima finally comes back into the story after that original scene. And so you have that flashback to that original scene. And it makes sense in the PS2 game, because we haven't seen Majima in a while. But in Kiwami, it's just been constant, like, assaults of Majima. Also, if you go back and watch the footage of Haruka getting kidnapped and Date getting shot, it's like right here. You can see this sign. You can see this. It was literally like right here. So he's like, by the way, that truck that kidnapped Haruka took them to the batting cages. Oh yeah, they had to get a truck and drive all the way to right fucking here. Great kidnapping, guys. On a scale of Haruka kidnappings, that's definitely gonna rank a 1 out of 10. And oh boy, are there gonna be a lot of Haruka kidnappings to compare against. How do we... Shit. So this scene finally allows me to elaborate on why I really don't like the Majima Everywhere system in this game. Because this scene really puts it into stark contrast how the Majima how this release, how Yakuza Kiwami treats and more importantly fails Majima's character. I've never seen that heat action before. Wow, that's funny. Because this is the first time you're supposed to fight Majima in the game. All the other fights have been added as every single other encounter. Every scene that is not that original scene at the beginning of the game with Majima beating the dude up with the umbrella. Everything else was added. None of that was in the original game. And like, you can tell that there is a difference. You can tell that there is a difference between how Majima is written as part of the Majima Everywhere content, the new writing of 10 years later, compared to what we just saw in that scene. In that cutscene just now introducing this fight between where Majima's like, a psychopath and beats the shit out of his own man with a baseball bat for not laughing, and he's basically the Joker, and the casting for Mark Hamill was utterly perfect in the original dub. No. I'm not gonna do that. So just... Oh, fuck. And that's really what it comes... That's the problem with the Majima Everywhere system, is they didn't think it through. They didn't... They just thought, oh, Majima is a much more popular character in the series now. At like 10 years later, 7 games into the series, Majima has exploded as this meme character, and for good reason. But in the... and so let's play that up. Let's put in a lot of the stuff that is Majima is popular for and famous for into this game. Let's play up the fact that, like, Majima is this character with this, like, fight crush, this fight sexual, like, man crush on Kiryu, and have him do all the wacky memes that he's known for, and have him hide in a trash can for hours on end, waiting for a chance to ambush Kiryu, and all that. And it'll be a good way to justify, leveling up the Dragon of Dojima style, because how are you gonna explain that with the conventional level up gameplay system? Like, this is his, oh, super OP, fuck you, I'm the legendary Dragon of Dojima fighting style. It'll be, like, having them fight Majima over and over will be a good way to have him level up that style. And it's a good way to reuse the gameplay mechanics that they already had for Mr. Shakedown in Yakuza 0 and expand upon it, which is a big thing they always like doing, is taking gameplay mechanics from earlier entries and building them up and doing new things with them. Are these bats respawning? The problem is, Majima was not a wacky, popular, like, meme character in the original Yakuza, in the original release, in the original PS2 game. He was just another boss fight. He was just another, like, character in this wide cast of characters that are standing as antagonists for Kiryu in his quest for the 10 billion yen. And you can tell the disparity in the writing between the Majima Everywhere system and these scenes where Majima was originally written just as, you know, any other boss encounter. He's really not written as being any more significant than, say, Hiroshi was, the guy from the Omi Alliance that we just fought in the Ares bar earlier, when we were running around with Haruka. In fact, Shimano is written up much more prominently as Kiryu's main antagonistic force. Nishiki's the main, like, Nishiki's the final boss, so to speak, but Shimano is Kiryu's antagonist. Shimano is the one who's, like, fielding the army that Kiryu is dealing with. And really, even that, like, I'll talk about that more later, but Nishiki's primary, like, influence over the plot as a villain comes from him teaming up with the Omi Alliance, more so than anything he does on his own. And other characters. where it's really Shimano who's like Kiryu's main, like, fuck you Kiryu, I am your symbolic obstacle that you need to overcome as part of this conflict. And Majima is just another Shimano soldier. Majima works for Shimano. So even these encounters with Majima are meant to play up as feeding into Shimano as a threat. Like, Shimano is such a, like, extravagantly powerful force that he has Majima on his payroll as a member of his army, and Majima is, like, running around doing his own thing. That's how wild and unruly Shimano is he just lets Majima run around and do whatever the fuck he wants. Majima as a character really isn't supposed to be anything in and of himself. He's supposed to play into more the conflict that Kiryu has with Shimano, in terms of what was intended in the original writer's room. But of course, Majima as a character is a really great character and did explode in popularity, and that was unintentional as far as the writing goes. Majima was not written intended to be anything special. It was really the performance of his voice actor, and not Mark Hamill, I mean like the original Japanese voice actor, and the like little moments that he had to add depth to his character that really made the difference, and really allowed people to latch onto Majima as a character. And plus, this is like the first boss fight you're supposed to have with Majima, and he comes back and has another boss fight later, and those are the only two fights you have with Majima in the game. Originally. And characters like Hiroshi only have one. Shimano, you have a boss fight with him, but it's lame. And also, whatever happens with him happens. So the fact that you have multiple boss fights with Majima, and the fact that he doesn't die at the end, spoilers, is what helped Majima, like, stand out for people in, like, reaction to this game. And also scenes like this. Well, anyway. Ah, shit, kid, you're having a rough day, aren't you? You saw a guy get stabbed. Yeah, I actually, in the original PS2 dub, they translated that as him saying, Kiryu is my friend. I'm the only one allowed to kill him. And I actually like that a lot better. I mean, there are a lot of men Haruka doesn't know. So that's...
お母さんに会わせて。ねえ、お願い。
ねえはるかちゃん、今日はこれを持ってきたの。お母さんが持ってたペンダント。
お母さんの？
そう、はるかちゃんにって預かってきたんだ。だからもう少し待ってあげてね。
うん。
大事なお守りだから、これ持ってること知らない人に話しちゃダメよ。すごく大事なはるかちゃんだけのお守りだから。
I reiterate that Reina's introduction to Yumi as a to Mizuki as a character was, oh yeah, she's Yumi's sister. Yumi probably didn't even know she had a sister.
100億の価値があるんだよって。
見せてみろ。鍵付きか。無理やりこじ開けるってな。
ダメ。
言ってみただけだ。
はるか、そのおじさん顔は覚えてるか？
真っ暗だったから全然。でもその人、桐生のおじさんにペンダントのこと伝えてくれって。
俺の名前を？
うん。
何者なんだ一体。
さあな、一つだけ確かなのは、俺たちはいつの間にか事件の中心に置かれていたってことだ。
So going back to Majima, that's really like the reason I don't like the Majima Everywhere system is they just decided to do that without thinking about how Majima was written in the original game and how those two different Majimas are not don't go together. It's a whiplash to go from the Majima Everywhere, where Majima's running around in like a dancer outfit, being an 80s pop star because Yakuza 0, am I right? And then go to that scene where he's like, "It's been a long time, Kazuma-chan. All I want to do is fight you. I'm finally gonna get my chance to go one-on-one with the Dragon of Dojima. Kiryu-chan is my friend. Only I'm allowed to kill him." It's like, you either need to dial back the Majima Everywhere, which is be the easy solution, because it's literally just don't do a thing, or you need to change the cutscenes of the original game where Majima was in it, and alter them to take into account the new shit you added for the Majima Everywhere system. And it's not like you weren't redoing the cutscenes and adding new content into old cutscenes anyway. So, like, it's just so dumb to me. Because you walk into that cutscene and it's like, Majima, what are you talking about? We just had a boss fight 2 minutes ago, and you were doing the dancer, the breakdance style. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? It takes adding the Majima Everywhere system takes away from Majima's scenes as they originally existed in the PS2 game, and that bothers me.
おい待てこら。おやおや、誰かと思えば組長じゃねえか。てめえ、柏木さんが世話してる組がケツ持ってる店にみかじめ取りに行ったっての本当か？うん、バッチリ稼いできてやったぜ。文句ねえだろ。ふざけんな。なんでそんなことした？おいおい、そんなことも説明しねえとわからねえのかよ。何？ウゴのタケノコみてえに次から次へとビルが建ってた時代はとっくに終わってんだ。これからは限られた島を力で奪ってたもんが勝つんだよ。筋ってもんがあんだろうが。筋ね。柏木の頭が文句言ってきたら組長うまいこと言っといてくださいよ。てめえ、3000万 どうしても用意してって言ったのはお前だろうが。俺のやり方が気に食わねえって言うなら、お前のやり方で今すぐにでも直径に上がってみろや。何もできねえくせに偉そうな口聞くんじゃねえぞ。バカ野郎！てめえ、恩を後で返す気か。すいません、本当にすいません。この詫びは縁故でも詰めて。いらねえよ。てめえの子分すらろくにしつけられねえグズの指が一体何の役に立つって言うんだ。はあ？すいません、すいません、すいません、すいません、すいません、すいません、すいません。たく、風間の親父の耳に入る前でよかったぜ。こんな情けねえ話で親父を失望させたくねえからな。今回だけは不問にしといてやる。次はねえからな。ありがとうございます。ありがとうございます。桐生ならこんなことには。まあ、とにかくしっかりやってくれ。
How far can you push a man before he breaks? I reiterate that I really like these Nishiki scenes. I really like that they added these. I don't like that they play before every chapter. I think that they should have been like a reward for a new sequence of sub-stories or something. The fact that they're throw it in there before the new chapter. I don't think that was the best way to go about it.
はるかちゃん疲れてたみたいね。ぐっすり眠っちゃって。キリュウちゃん今日はどうするの？
何か新しい手がかりを
I go hit the pavement. I like that expression.
に出てみるか。
大丈夫？キリュウちゃんすぐ変なことに巻き込まれちゃうから。
Look at this fucking dog. Hey Rex. Hey Spot Dog. Look at that. Look, she's got a blanket over her. What is this? What is this black magic? Oh, you know what? They probably just made a whole model. They made just a character model that was just Haruka in this pose with a blanket laid over her. Look, she doesn't even have a breathing animation. That is a piece of furniture. That is not Haruka's character model with a blanket over her. She doesn't even have a breathing animation. Oh god, it's so funny. How do they do this? Okay, so back to sub-stories. Are you excited? I'm excited for sub-stories. We're back to the sub-story time. Get ready for sub-stories up and down the street. We're finally going to do this one because we need to have Purgatory unlocked before we're able to have access to it. Before we can finish it, I mean.
今花屋さんのところで働かせてもらってます。旦那、ちょいとボスのところに顔出してやってもらえませんかね。どうもボスの身内にトラブルらしいんです。ここんとこずっと機嫌悪くって。でも
Yeah, this is an actually decent time to run around and do sub-stories because this is the part of the story where the main story gets put on pause so that Kiryu can deal with the extended cast. Like, these next chapters have nothing to do with the drama between Nishiki and the 10 billion yen and the mystery of Yumi. It's all just Oh, Kiryu has a new cast of supporting characters like the florist and Date and etc. We gotta expand their role in the narrative. Expand on them. So let's go ahead and I think he wants. Well, let's just get whatever. Maybe he'll take anything, but I think it has to be specifically sake. Let's find out. I remember in the PS2 game, it was specifically sake you had to get. Which you couldn't even drink. You couldn't even use it as an item. You couldn't even drink the sake.
What? Nani? Oh.
Okay, yeah, it specifically has to be sake. Okay. There's only one place I know that sells sake in this town. And that's your boys, the good old boys at Don Quixote. Oh, do they not have it either? Where the fuck is sake? Where the fuck do you buy sake from? M store? M store. Is this an M store? No, that's a Popo. That's a Popo. Where the fuck is an M store? These are all Popos. God damn it, I gotta go up to all the way up there. Just to get some sake. Run all over this fucking town. See how retarded it is? We just had... What does he even have? What does he have? Do you see how awful this is, by the way? We just had a boss fight with Majima that concludes with Majima getting stabbed in the stomach and exiting the story. And then, run outside, Majima everywhere. He's here, don't worry. Still have boss fights with Majima all throughout the city. We're not gonna accommodate for the fact that as part of the narrative of the story that you're fucking remaking, we're not gonna take into account the fact that Majima just got stabbed in the stomach. And this is a New Game Plus, so it's not I'm not being 100% fair, because there is, like, a whole, like, sequence of dumbass, Majima everywhere, like, story shit with emails that you get about weird shit that Majima's doing. And you gotta, like, trigger these different encounters with him. And after you do enough fights, he'll, like, stop fucking with you. And there's, like, dialogue after the scene of the fight in the batting center where Majima's like, yeah, I'm fine, don't worry about it. Back to fighting. And it's just so dumb and bad, and I don't like it. And there was even a fucking Majima Everywhere encounter with Majima at the batting cages. And I said I would hold on to that footage, and I did not. And I forgot. And I hate myself. I'm recording these in fucking September, and these are gonna go up in December, for fuck's sake. I can't keep track of this shit. But, earlier, when we were chilling out at the batting cages. There was a Majima Everywhere encounter with a fight with him at the batting cages. And I was like, oh no, this is disgusting. That's actually horrible. Because that's where you have the fight with him as part of the main story. And I was so disgusted by it that I cut it out completely. And I was like, nope. Gonna fucking throw that in the memory hole. So I really feel like it's so unfortunate. Because the game has to bend over backwards to make the Majima Everywhere content fit with the original Majima content from the original game, and it just doesn't. It doesn't fit at all. It doesn't work at all. And it really just makes me feel like you should have thrown the baby out with the bathwater. You should have just not had it. I mean, this is a remake of a fucking 2005 PlayStation 2 game. Which is another reason I think you shouldn't play it first. Which is another reason I think you should not play Yakuza 0 first, by the way. Because I think it's stupid to go from a game that was made... God damn it. To a game that was made and released in, like, 2016. And then go from that straight to a remake of a PS2 game that was made in 2005. If you go from Yakuza 0 to Yakuza Kiwami, you're going to think Yakuza Kiwami is a bad game in comparison. And that's not an unfair reaction to have. Because, yeah, a game made in 2016 is a better game than a PlayStation on the PS. A PS3 game made in 2016 is a better game than a game made in 2005 on the PS2. That is a valid reaction. So that's why I think it is a mistake to go from Yakuza 0 to Yakuza Kiwami. And also because play them in release order, you actual fuckboy. But like the Majima Everywhere system, real content, that part of the game, it's just, it makes it so dumb. They really should have just embraced the fact that they were making a remake of a 2005 PlayStation 2 game, and just allowed it to be as true a representation of that original experience as possible. But instead, they made it not only a remake of Yakuza 1, but also a sequel to Yakuza 0, and Majima was a big part of Yakuza 0, so they wanted to make Majima a big part of this game also. And it just, it spoils. It doesn't ruin, but it spoils what Majima's role in this original game was. He was just a simple, like, 2 boss fight encounter, reoccurring boss fight, regular character. No different and no more special than any other boss fight that you have throughout the game. And the fact that he, like, sticks around all the way through to the end of the story, and the fact that he has those good little moments, like taking the knife for Kiryu, and other stuff, made him stand out, and planted, and the performance from his voice actor allowed him to stand out. And be remembered and celebrated by the fan base, and that allowed him to come back in later games and get a larger role until he eventually became as popular as he is. So the fact that they're trying to play into that, trying to lean into the memes, instead of allowing, you know, Majima as he was originally conceived to provide that natural charm, that slow burn charm that he had in the original game that made him so special. It's kind of disappointing to me. So to a degree, I think, yeah, they should have thrown the baby out with the bathwater and just said, fuck the entire Majima Everywhere system. Don't have a Majima Everywhere system in Yakuza Kiwami. I think if you're playing Yakuza Kiwami as your first Yakuza game, which I think you should do, I do kind of think that you should just ignore. You should just ignore everything involving the Majima Everywhere system. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to do a New Game Plus run, is because so much of the Majima Everywhere system is just not in the New Game Plus. Because you already did it.
But
Yeah.
So, like, there's these extra scenes and extra dialogue and all this new content with Majima memeing it up. And I think you should ignore all of it. I think you should pretend it isn't in the game. So it is unfortunate that... But that's the thing, because it's mandatory if you want to get a fully leveled up dragon style by the end of the game. So you can't play... You can't use the fighting style that Kiryu had in the original PS2 game unless you engage in the Majima Everywhere system. And it's just so annoying.
Yeah. Oh.
So this whole sub-story is yet another video game adaptation of the paperclip trading side quest that's in so many Japanese games. I think games in general, really.
Oh.
But in particular, these are big side quests in the Legend of Zelda series of games. Particularly the most famous one was in
what?
Ocarina of Time, where you end up getting the big Goron sword.
Eh?
So you see that in a lot of games, where you start out, like, giving a really innocuous item to one NPC, and then he gives you an item in exchange, and you eventually trade that away until you build up to getting a big, awesome item at the end. And it's all of... In any game that you see that side quest, it's an adaptation of this story about a guy who started out with a paperclip, and then traded that away in exchange for something, and then eventually built up until he ended up with a mansion at the end. And that's a really famous story, so you see adaptations of it a lot. Especially in video games, which are really well made for trading side quests like that. Where you start out trading this like really cheap whatever item that you like costs nothing, and then you get like a key item from that, and then you eventually trade that away, and then trade that away, and then trade that away, and then you get a really good item by the end of it. So you can tell that this was a sub-story that was in the original PS2 release of the game. because that's the kind of side quest that's like really bog standard basic that you would have as just something to add flair or add depth to the city of Kamurocho. It adds this feeling of exploration and interaction that you would give a guy a bottle of sake, and then he would trade you a coat, and you would trade the coat for a pair of glasses, and then you'd trade the pair of glasses for some super adhesive tape. And then you trade the super adhesive tape. This is why we waited on this side story, by the way, because we couldn't finish it until we got to Purgatory. And then you trade the adhesive tape away, and then you get something for that.
What?
Yeah, so in the PS2 game, this was pretty simple, just standard trick. They do this with almost every sub-story that they brought back, where they try to add like all these new camera angles and sad music and extra dialogue, blah blah blah. I guess again, because they're like, man, it was way too basic, it was way too simple in the original game. We gotta add more shit to it. The stuff that is, like, added into the game 10 years after the fact is so stark in contrast to the shit that was from the original PS2 game. It's really funny. Man, there were a shitload of sub-stories in Chapter 4. And then we're gonna trade the last thing away in this sequence. I believe it's right here, around this way.
What?
勘弁してください。
おいおい、大丈夫。
もうやめて。お願いします。おら。許して。
情けね
ええ。助けて。黙れ。
Sounds rough, buddy. Big mood. Something I noticed with a lot of these sub-stories is they add a lot of dialogue for Kiryu. In the PS2 games, Kiryu does not have a lot of dialogue during the sub-stories. They just kind of happen at him, and he just goes along with it.
What?
He has a lot of ellipses. I think either way, they both handlings of Kiryu's character are, like, fair as like a first impression of Kiryu, because either way you're still getting this idea of this really gullible man who's just kind of going along with the crazy bullshit of these random people that he's running into throughout the city. Whereas in the PS2 game, you get this impression that he's just kind of going with the flow. Whereas in Kiwami, you get this... he's getting much more actively involved. And it feels like, Kiryu, you're fucking dumb. Yeah, so now we can sell the Swiss watch at the pawn store. And hey, that's a tiny little profit going from like a $5 bottle of sake to a watch that you can sell for like, I think like 300,000, something like that. Oh, it's a police officer, Majima. No. No, Majima, I'm gonna sneeze. No. I did not sneeze. Okay, there should be more sub-stories now, I believe. We're in chapter 6, right? Yeah. Are these sub-stories triggering? Because usually you got the, I've got this. Oh, I don't have anything equipped. I'm an idiot. Why don't I have anything equipped? I'm gonna wear that just to cut down on the amount of random encounters. Oh yeah, there we go. It's working now. That's better. Weird. I don't want to trigger this yet, so we're gonna walk around it. I want to go sell that Swiss watch first, and then I have a list. I have a list of sub-stories. I want to do them in order, because I don't want to be scrolling up and down. It's another sub-stories episode, but again, it's appropriate because what's the thing that Kiryu's doing? He's kind of just sitting around waiting for the plot to happen again. Wanna come watch my girlfriend at a strip club? Am I the only one who think that that's weird? Yuya's like, hey, Kiryu, my girlfriend works at this. Works as an exotic dancer at this strip club. Wanna watch? Wanna watch my girlfriend do a strip dance on the pole? It's awesome. Come watch. Come watch my girlfriend do a strip show. That's fucking so weird to me. Yuya, you're a fucking weird guy. Yuya, what the fuck is the matter with you? Anyway, yeah, we already did the hostess sub-stories and saw some weird 3D woman doing weird sex things in front of the camera. So yeah, let's watch an actual computer graphic woman do a strip dance on stage.
早く行きましょう桐生さん
That'll be a nice change of pace. Man, your girlfriend's got a nice ass.
今踊ってた彼女ミユって言うんです今度機会があったらゆっくり紹介しますよあれでなかなか人気なんですよ
Are you proud of that? What the fuck? That's so weird.
ただのファンだったんですけどね
Yuya, you're so weird. That's such a... I don't relate to
次の
this.
子の始まります今日が初舞台の新人らしいですね
続きまして白鳥うららの登場です皆様舞台に上がりましたら温かい拍手でお迎えください
No one finds that weird. No, this is part of the show. This is part of my act. No one thought it was weird that that she came out with a shotgun. Did no one notice? That wasn't that didn't stand out to anyone. Take a seat. Men belong in the audience at places like this, fucker.
ゆうや大丈夫
ああなんとかお前は
こっちは何だったの今の
I heard gunshots.
自分の胸に聞いてみるんだななんだお前はミユ
ゆうや
親殺しが
さっきの奴ら見つけました
本当か場所はどこだ
公園前通りにある5階所です
公園前通りの5階所だな
わかった
ミユが危ないんです俺黙って見てるなんてできませんヒルさん俺に何かあったらあとお願いします
Good luck, idiot.
待て俺が行くまで動くな
ダメですもう時間が俺行きます
You idiot, you're the second boss fight in the game. You can't handle a situation like this. So what exactly was their plan?
このままだとユウヤたちが危ない公園前通りの5階所へ急がね
They're like, hey, let's hope that Kiryu goes to a strip joint. Let's hope that Kiryu goes to this strip joint on Pink Street. And, like, set it up so that one of our dudes will pretend to be a woman in drag. Well, pretend to be a woman in drag. One of our dudes will pretend to be a woman and, like, be a dancer at the strip joint. And then, like, hope that, and establish that she has a dance routine with a shotgun. And hope that Kiryu just shows up one day. To be like, in the audience so that he can kill him during the show. Good plan, guys. You know, if that happened in real life, if one of the dancers just, like, pulled out a shotgun and killed a random person in the crowd, that place would be shut down forever. That place is now out of business. There is no longer a Club Asia in the city of Kamurocho. That's not a thing anymore. Anyway, let's get Crunk, by the way. Let's get nice and crunk so that we can save this stripper. Oh, and then the plan was if that fails, if that plan fails, if shooting him with a shotgun, taking him by surprise as part of the stage act, if that doesn't work, then kidnap one of the dancers who works there and like hope he shows up to save her. That's the plan. That's a bad plan. So here's what's weird. There's a Go parlor. Why isn't there a Go minigame in the series? Do you not think that's weird? There's a shogi minigame, there's a mahjong minigame. You'd think they'd put in a Go minigame.